Hello, this is Brett from Survival Comms. Today we're going to make a really quick VHF antenna out of some 450 ohm twin lead, and we're going to use minimal tools to do it. We're going to use a Leatherman tool, and we are going to solder it. You can do it with crimp type connectors if that's all you've got, but it's not a very efficient antenna. So let's get started. First, get about 5 feet of 450 ohm window line. We're using the standard non-stranded stuff here, just a solid conductor. And your Leatherman tool is about 4 inches long, so go ahead and measure off about 4 inches, which you can see it's about right there on there. And go ahead and strip around here. And remove this section of insulation. Now as you strip it back, you'll remove this section. We're going to keep this section because we're going to use this as a feed line support. So once you have this right here, go ahead and just cut this in half. After you cut your insulation section in half, go ahead and set that one aside. Take your free end here and slide your insulation back over these conductors here. And then leave yourself just enough wire, which is about 3/4 of an inch of wire. But you want just enough to where you can fold this over, and then we're going to go ahead and solder these two wires together. Take your Leatherman tool and bend these conductors towards one another. Like so. Now these two sections will attempt to drift away from one another, so just take your Leatherman tool, hold it together like that. You take and heavily tin your soldering iron. And have it fluxed. You'll go ahead and it'll tie in these two together. Flooding the connection with solder. Now to measure out your tuning section length, take 4 3/4 Leatherman tool lengths, which would be close to 18.5 inches. Let's take your Leatherman tool and cut it at that point. And then what I do is I cut this whole section out right here and I leave the rest of it in place. Now take this section here and remove it with your Leatherman tool blade. Just like that. Now at this point here, what I will do is I will actually go back down about an inch. And expose the tip of this right here. For tuning purposes. Now to reinforce this section here, between these two windows, we're going to use some duct tape. So go ahead and tear yourself off a narrow section of duct tape and make it long enough to wrap back around. Just like that. Now to establish the overall length of your vertical radiator, simply take your Leatherman tool, fold it together like that, and start right here where you cut your matching section, and measure 4 3/4 of these lengths to give you approximately 39 inches. Take your Leatherman tool, cut your vertical radiator, just like so. Now you can cut your other side, opposite of that. And then just take your knife blade and cut these off here. Now we're going to attach our coax feeder to our section here. What you can do is you can feed this with RG58, 174, or you can also feed it with a television coax. RG6 will work also if you have it, or RG59. For our example today, we're going to go ahead and use some RG58. Now, taking your RG58 feeder here, go ahead and measure about 1 1/4 inches back from the end of your cable. Take your blade and make a circumferential cut at this point here. Expose and remove. After you've exposed your shield, push your shield back, open a window inside the shield, then take your center conductor, simply push it back through that window. Take your shield and twist it together. Now with coax, it's got a foil layer around the outside of the center conductor here, or the dielectric insulation. What I'll do is I'll go forward about 1/4 inch. And just strip away this dielectric here. It's hard. It takes too much time just to go ahead and strip the foil off of the dielectric. If you don't have a foil covered dielectric, you can just go ahead and run that up to right where you're going to go ahead and join the feed section of the antenna. Now, in attaching your feeder here, you're going to go ahead and take your cable. You're going to lay it on that insulated section you put back on there. Place it in the middle. Make sure to index your shield side towards your short section, or your matching section of the antenna. And then your center conductor will go to the central vertical radiator. Now what you can do is while you're holding it there, you can use a section of duct tape. And make that attachment for your cable right there. And that's going to hold it in place while we attach it. You can see here I've run a second section of duct tape around here to go ahead and secure that. Now you're going to take your center conductor and go ahead and wrap it around your vertical radiator. Like so. Then you'll take your shield side and wrap it around as well. If you choose to tune the antenna by sliding it up and down on this section here, you can do so. I prefer to just cut the thing to length, and at your very end I cut off 3/8 of an inch at a time of the vertical radiator, and what I'll cut off is I will cut off 1/8 of an inch at a time down here at the matching section to bring it to resonance. Now to attach your coax, if you have a soldering iron. If you don't have a soldering iron, then you're just throwing this together really quick. This right here will probably suffice. It's not going to be very durable. But if you do have a soldering iron handy, merely heavily tin your tip and flood it with solder. I'm trying to do it with one hand here without helping hands. Now at this point here, if you have the luxury of heat shrink tubing, you can slide a section of 1-inch heat shrink tubing over this and seal up the entire section. If not, you can go ahead and reinforce it with duct tape here, or cover up your feed point with duct tape if desired. Now what you're going to do is make a very basic choke. You'll go about an inch below the feed point, and then just take your hand and make 4 turns of the coax cable evenly. You can see we have our choke done, and now I'm going to go ahead and attach a BNC connector. And this is our Jpole in the tree. Okay, 146 megahertz, 13 watts forward, and very little reflected, so we're looking good there. And that's without trimming. Well, here's our antenna and its travel configuration. The antenna itself weighs in at a little over 4.5 ounces, as packaged here. This antenna is a half-wave antenna, so performance-wise, it's going to be like a dipole antenna. I did end up heat shrinking it. I took the duct tape off of it because I'm going to keep this one here. It's not something I just did as a demonstration. You can see I went ahead and I heat shrunk it down here instead of just using the duct tape that I had it all tied up when I tested it. And then I went ahead down here, did the same thing at the mid joint here where I had that exposed conductor. So it all rolls up together. Now, if you desire to, you don't have to leave this additional conductor on here. I leave it on here because I think it makes it easier to fold up. And also, you're carrying, 36 inches of 18 gauge conductor in the field with you, which, if you don't have access to a conductor and you need a piece of wire for something or the other, you've got one in this antenna here that you can cut out. So, I hope this has given everybody some food for thought. Thank you for watching. This is Brett from Survival Comms. Till next time.